Good day once again, and welcome to another session on research methods, particularly a supplementary discussion to consolidate all the concepts and principles that we have had discussed relative to the research process and research writing. Recalling what we had for initial discussion of the research process, consisting of four important phases. We have had in the last session the initial phase called conceptualization, and where conceptualization, if you will take a look at the set of activities under this stage, we have the following: defining the problem, followed by review of related literature, and finally we have formulation of hypothesis. Okay. We have had a complete thorough discussion about the requirements of defining the problem in the previous session, and so today we will talk about a review of related literature. Actually, we have initialized on having to draw the line between literature reviews, okay, as well as theoretical and conceptual framework, okay, as requirements, okay, in the writing of the report. So with that, let's deepen our understanding on review of related literature, okay, beginning with the definition or meaning as provided by experts in the field. Okay, so the review of related literature, as pointed out in this slide, is one of the most important steps okay, in the research process. Okay, sorry. Okay, it basically serves the main purpose of conveying to the readers about the work already done in relation to what we had for discussion about the significance of this undertaking, okay? And as well as the knowledge and ideas that have been already established on particular topic. Okay? As we have noted that research simply means to search again, it is quintessential that we have our springboard for the conceptualization of a research project, okay, previous studies, okay, conducted in the area, okay, of the subject of investigation or in the area of investigation. Okay, so in essence, a literature review is a comprehensive review of prior research regarding a specific topic. So as soon as you have determined an interesting topic where you can have the and for basis of identifying a research problem, okay, so you do right away a literature review. So this overview, okay, both shows the reader what is known about a topic and what is not yet known, okay, so thereby setting up the rationale or need for a new investigation. So that would legitimize your work, okay, by referring to the works of others or the works that were completed previously, okay, and which is what the actual study to which the literature review is attached, okay, seeks to do. Okay, so in the work of Creswell, okay, in 1994, okay, there was a slight variation, okay, in the way the meaning of literature review is stated. Quote unquote, the literature in a research study accomplishes several purposes. Okay, so he in this particular uh, in this particular uh, discussion by Creswell, he laid down, okay, the different purposes of research as follows. Number one, it shares with the reader the results of other studies that are closely related, okay, to the study being reported. Okay, and quoting the work of Frankel and Wallen in 1990. Okay, so it was emphasized, pointing out on the work of Frankel and Wallen in 1990, the first purpose of literature in a research study, sharing with the reader the results of other studies that are closely related to the study being reported. Okay. Number two, it relates a study to the larger ongoing dialogue in the literature about a topic, okay, filling in gaps and extending prior studies. This purpose was based on the work of Marshall and Rossman in 1989. So to reiterate, okay, another purpose of literature review is to relate a study to the larger ongoing dialogue in the literature about a topic. So thereby filling in gaps and extending prior studies. And finally, it provides a framework for establishing the importance of the study. Okay, so a well-done literature review includes all the main themes and sub-themes found within the general topic chosen for the study. So these themes and sub-themes are usually interwoven with the methods or findings of the prior research. Okay, so discussing further on literature review, it will bring us to our understanding of the current state of knowledge on the question, okay, that you will be addressing, okay, and for basis of developing an argument for a new study. Okay, so in this example, okay, we have emergency nurses, okay, dealing with unpredictable events, which may include death, violence, and overcrowding. So for this particular example, okay. So, however, little evidence has shown to identify factors that are associated with emergency ED nurses, okay, demographics and work-related characteristics contributing to their compassion, fatigue, compassion, satisfaction, and burnout. Okay. So it will help us, okay, decide as a researcher on what will be the focus of this study. Okay. And in order for us to be able to also have the choice of literatures, okay, pieces of materials for literature review, okay, that will back up our study. Okay, so talking about sources, we talk about literature review and its type of information from primary sources to secondary sources. So primary sources, okay, are considered original research which are featured in journal articles, books, theses, and the like. Meanwhile, you will realize that you will also be needing secondary sources aside from the original works on the basis of number one, okay, having a basis or basis for summary and critique of primary studies, okay, meaning literature review and integrative review, that is, okay, and for conceptual as well as in-depth analysis of the problem. So there you need secondary sources. Okay. However, it is to be remembered that the main sources from where literature can be searched are the following. So we have books, chapter, electronic databases, journal articles, conference papers, thesis, whether published or non-published, encyclopedia and dictionary, research reports, magazines and newspapers, laws, documents, statutes, government uh, legislations, and the like. Okay, and you may also consider the following databases for purposes of literature review, in addition to what I already have shared in the chat group. Okay, please take a look at the list of possible databases, okay, which you can have for uh, purposes of literature review, okay, relative to your respective works. Okay, and please remember, abstracting and recording part of the process, okay, which will involve, number one, selecting databases. Okay, so it is very critical to also assess the database that you will have for purposes of sourcing literature. Okay, whether data or non-data materials. Then you have your annotated bibliography. Okay, in the activity that I have introduced to some of you. Okay, so you will need to annotate bibliography. Okay, so for those who were enrolled in advanced research and seminar in research, okay, part of the activities that you were introduced with is annotation of bibliography. So please recall, as this will help you in the process of literature review. It is also quintessential that you do coding of studies. Okay, so whether thematic, historical, or geographical organization. Remember, we have three possible options of approaches in the conduct of in the organization or codification of studies insofar as literature review is concerned. We have, okay, thematic, 2 chronological, and 3 geographical. Okay, I already have mentioned this previously. So thematic is what we follow at the University of Luzon. Remember the themes and the sub-themes that were mentioned as a way to organize, okay, and summarize the literature review that you have done relative to your work. Okay, we also have historical when we do the organization based on chronology, whether from the most recent to the most outdated. Okay, and by the way, I'd like you to always remember that we go by the 10-year rule, okay, especially in matters pertaining literature or related studies. Okay, so it has to be a study that was completed for the last 10 years. So if you're doing a study this year, so then the time frame or the period, okay, of the study should have been within the 10-year time frame. Okay, and then we have geographical. Okay, so it's sorting or coding your studies, okay, based on where the study was completed from, whether locally, okay, or international. So you have local studies and foreign studies, but we don't usually do that. Again, we go for thematic organization of literature review. And then I hope that you also are familiar with the literature review protocols. Okay, we have number one. Okay, it is very important to always put, okay, for as a to regard as a priority, okay, academic honesty and academic integrity, okay, and it is for this reason that we do paraphrasing and or citation of sources, okay, in order for us to acknowledge properly, okay, the owner, okay, of the information of the data, okay, based on our review. Okay, we also have literature review matrices. Okay, I think I also have introduced, okay, a matrix, okay, to some of you, okay, which may also give you a boost, okay, in the work of preparing your RRL, or your review of related literature. So this is how it works for the review of related literature. Okay, remember that you have your topic, okay, to begin with, and based on the topic, okay, you are asked to identify themes, okay, so which will of course translate to keywords, and these keywords will be important in the conduct of search, okay, whether electronically, okay, or print, or even non-print, okay, non-print materials, okay, and analyze, okay, or review, okay, the results of the completed studies, and based on what these results, based on the review of these results, then you now evaluate which of these results will back you up in your study. Okay, so it is what do you call this, an important consideration, okay, in RRL to do a comprehensive analysis, okay, and to do an exhaustive search, because the idea of having to conduct literature review is to determine what has been known about the topic of investigation, or what has been studied, okay, about your topic of choice. So there has to be an extensive search, okay, of studies that were completed in the past that have relevance, okay, to your present study, okay, so that you will know what are not yet known about it, okay, and that will now be the basis for proposing research project, okay, and thereby legitimizing your work, okay, or your proposal, okay. So that's in simple terms how it works for the review of related literature, okay. So from topic to keywords, okay, and the keywords as basis for search of both print and non-print and electronic sources, categorized into data or non-data material. So there are two types of materials to review: data materials and non-data materials. So if you will have it based on the prescribed format of writing chapter 2 at the University of Luzon, okay, the second chapter for review of related literature and studies, okay, is prepared in two parts. So the first section is for the non-data materials under the section title conceptual literature. Okay, conceptual literature. And then we have the second section, okay, with the title research literature. So we have research literature for data materials and conceptual literature for non-data materials. Okay, so then we analyze, we review, okay, we critically analyze the results, okay, and you will also note that the review of the results, okay, will, okay, also link up to your search and the keywords that you have for basis of doing the search. And then evaluation. Obviously, what you have evaluate should correspond to what you have searched. Okay, that would, okay, lead you back to reviewing your searches. Okay, part of the entire process of review of related literature. Okay, so how do you prepare writing literature? So number one, use bibliographic software packages. Okay, but you see, at UL, we don't go for endnotes anymore. We consistent with the APA format, we observe in-text citation and the parenthetical notation. Okay, so in the preparation of the literature review, so there are three elements to remember. Number one, introduction, your search strategy. How did you do that? Then proceed to the body, okay, where you do lay down all the analysis, okay, based on the results, and then the conclusion to highlight on the gap or the conflict, you know, between and among all this literature. Additionally, here are some points to be considered during conducting literature review. Number one, be specific. That's why I have asked you to, in your search via www, you need to have, okay, an extension. You need to be as much as possible specific to regarding your search, okay? And that you have to also be aware on what may be the equivalent terms, because you might not be able to search for the right materials, okay, with the term that you have in mind having a synonymous terms that may have been more acceptable than the other terms, okay, in the circle of scholars. Okay, so you have to be aware. You have to also ask experts about what the synonymous or related terms may also be used for basis of searching for related materials. Be selective. Okay, not only that you be specific, but you have to be selective. It doesn't necessarily follow that if in your search it prompts to you, okay, this set of links to visit, so you just, okay, you just select them all. Okay, you need to review, of course, what document, what study and what are the findings of these studies. That's why you need to review literature, review. Okay, so also focus on current topics, for in that way it will lead you to more references, more materials, except in cases involving um, pioneering studies. Okay, focus on sources of evidence. Okay, account of contrary evidence. So you don't only consider those that will favor your study or will support your study. You may also in the process stumble upon that contradicts your study. That is okay. Okay, because you're trying to look into what have been known about this study and what are yet to be known. Then if there are clash of ideas, then all the more that you need to uh, search for more and have okay, uh, empirical studies conducted in order for you to be able to rectify should there be any flaws that were noted in the past. Okay, right? Then reference citation. Okay, so it is equally important. Okay, and the organization of literature review. Okay, referring to original source. Okay, so when I was starting as a young researcher, I used to also um, do third-party citation. Okay. Now, I realize that lately, upon the advice of experts in the field, uh, not to uh, do much of third-party citation, especially if you go for scholarly depth of the paper. Okay, what is meant by third-party citation? Okay, so third-party citation meaning when you review, okay, a particular study, and where in that study, okay, it mentions the work of others, then uh, you just rely on what the document, okay, has mentioned in the work, okay, as work of others. Okay, so sometimes it's very tricky, or it's very uh, uh, very uh, it is sometimes not reliable. Okay, to or it is not how do I put it? It is not uh, yeah. When conducting review, you should trace the material. You need to don't just believe on what other authors have mentioned about another another study, another work of an author. Okay, so you need to check it yourself. Okay, um, so sometimes, okay, when you uh, don't uh, trace anymore, okay, the document, okay, what you do is to just do third-party citation. For example, according to say, for example, the author being referred to by another is De La Cruz. So according to De La Cruz, and as cited in the work, say for example, of Fernandez. So according to De La Cruz, as cited by Fernandez. So you just rely on what Fernandez have mentioned about the work of De La Cruz, and that's uh, about third-party citation. So please refer to original source. So you do the tracing of the work of De La Cruz yourself. So after all, okay, that's the purpose of why you have your bibliography, to look into the uh, bibliographic reference. Okay, and in order for you to be able to find that material yourself, and review, okay, the said material personally, okay, and not just rely on what other people have mentioned about the work of others, okay, as they have cited it in their works, okay. And we avoid abbreviations. We avoid abbreviations, okay, and we do simple and accurate sentence structure. Okay, so I guess this will be the last of the slides for literature review, and this is very important. The critique criteria. Okay, so we have number one, note that okay, the concepts and the variables you have reviewed are relevant to your work. Okay? Number two, you need to also put premium on the primary sources than the secondary sources. That's why it's called primary. That's why it's called secondary, because in the order of importance, of course, primary is, of course, the priority. Okay. And then we have gap or inconsistencies uncovered. You don't just rely or you don't just consider those that will support, okay, your idea, but also that which will negate your idea, because it is in that way that you will be able to look for the inconsistencies or the gap that may have that exist that may have existed over time. Okay, then we have essential concepts of every study is reflected. That's why I ask you to do a thematic approach, basing it on the title and of course the statement of the problem, because these two, okay, embody the entire text or the entire study. Then we have strengths, weaknesses, or limitations critique of every study included. You see, strengths, weaknesses, or limitations. So you don't play bias here. You just lay down as per your analysis. Okay? You don't have to sugarcoat what others have mentioned about this particular study, this particular topic in their own study, just to make it sound favorable to what you're doing right now, and that will more or less, back you up in your proposal. Lay down everything, okay, and it has to be logically organized for the literature. Okay, so on the other hand, as I have mentioned, sometimes we are confused with literature review and conceptual and conceptual and theoretical framework. Remember that framework, okay, is the conceptual rationale, okay, and every study has a framework or justification, okay, which is not the literature review. You have for basis of your framework the literatures that you review, okay, the pieces of literature that you review, okay. So you need to be aware that theoretical and conceptual framework are models, okay. So how do you develop a theoretical framework or conceptual framework, okay? So number one, select concepts, okay. And when you select concepts, you need to have it in the context of the concepts in the context of your field of specialization. Okay, so remember that concept is an image or symbolic representation of an abstract idea. For example, say education intelligence. We have, for example, medical studies like health pain. So we also have ideas of artificial intelligence, okay, in IT, okay, what else, and so on and so forth. Public administration, say concept of service, concept of public service. Okay, so it is always important to have it on the basis of the context, in the context of your field of specialization, the concepts that you select. Okay. Then number two, identify the interrelationships among concepts. So logical propositions about the relations among the concepts. Okay. So you need to be critical in the review, in the analysis of the concepts. Okay. So formulating clear definitions, okay, that will make up your conceptual and operational definitions. So some concepts are easily defined while others are pretty much difficult. But always remember that in pursuit of conceptualization and operationalization, we can have it in terms of conceptual meanings and conceptual meanings and or functional meanings, okay, or operational meanings. Okay. Then we formulate a theoretical rationale. Okay. So theoretical, when we deal with theory, which actually is a system of logically interrelated, non-contradictory statements intended to tentatively explain some phenomena, okay, formulated in such a way that testable hypotheses can be derived from them. Okay, so theory is a set of interrelated principles, okay, that more or less provide an explanation to something, to an event, to a phenomena. Okay, so it is logically interrelated constructs and propositions, okay, presenting a systematic view. Okay, and this is by way of specifying relationships, okay, among variables with the purpose of explaining or predicting the phenomena. So therefore, it provides a point of view, okay, so determining what variables are important and what ones are not which ones do not provide, okay, which ones do not provide sources of problem statements and hypotheses, which in turn determine appropriate research design, analysis of data, and interpretation of results. So why is it important? Okay, number one, as mentioned, it provides more or less an explanation. So it predetermines what variables are important and what are not. Okay, so it is in that way that you'll also be guided on what variables to deal with and what may establish the demarcation for your study or the scope and delimitation. So determines the natural source of phenomena and the reason of its occurrence. And it provides sources of problem statements and hypotheses, which in turn help determine best design, study design, analysis of data, and interpretation of results. Okay, so talking about hypothesizing, okay, so we test theories, okay, and it is done by comparing observed results and what was hypothesized. Okay? So theories and conceptual model, okay, might be discredited or revised. That's okay. Sometimes you refute it, okay, and then have an entirely new one or an innovation of an old theories or conceptual model. Okay, according to the work of Bedhazer and Schmilkin in 1991, hypotheses and theories cannot be confirmed or proven. Okay, take note. Okay, it's not a matter of confirming or proving when we deal with hypotheses and theories. So no matter how much evidence, they may be falsified. Okay, they may be falsified. Okay, so theory testing studies is a matter of logical deduction and design study avoiding any other explanation. So theories are created by anyone who is insightful, okay, and has a firm grounding in existing evidence, okay, and has the ability to knit together, meaning to put it together, okay, and come up with an evidence into an intelligible pattern. So new theories replace old ones because the latter have been shown to be false. Okay. So this is an example. Okay. So Cantor's theory of structural empowerment, so providing framework for understanding empowering workplaces and empowered employees. Okay, where the theory holds that the role of management is to provide employees, okay, with the power tools, okay, that empower them to maximize their ability to accomplish their work in a meaningful way, so thereby benefiting the organization as a whole. So this was in 1993 by Cantor, and if you if you will analyze it further, on the basis of the work of Ombra, Orgambides, Ramos, and Borrego Alves in 2014, they have summed it up, for the constructions of Cantor's theory in these three three premises constructions. Number one, power is an ability to mobilize resources and achieve goals. Okay, so power. So in Cantor's work, he talked about power tools that empower them to maximize their ability, referring to the employees, and as exercise as a matter of role by the management. Okay. Then number two, employees are empowered when they have access to information, support, resources, and opportunities to learn and grow in their work setting. Okay. So and finally, formal and informal power influence empowerment, which in turn results in increased work effectiveness. Okay, so try to do similar technique or approach in the construction of certain theories. Now, additionally, aside from theories, we can also settle for conceptual models. Okay, it is less formal means of organizing phenomena. It is loosely structured. It has abstract concepts that are brought together based on the relevance of common theme. So, if there are no theories available to support or back you up in your study, you may settle for academic concepts. So in providing, it also provides perspective regarding two or more than two, okay, two or more, okay, phenomena. So it is used to generate hypotheses. And one way of assessing as to whether the theory or model, okay, are effective and are relevant, so you may have it on the basis of the following criteria. Number one, theoretical clarity. Thus, the propositions, okay, that are embodied in the theories are clearly stated. Remember, one of the critical elements of a theory is that a theory is theories are theories make predictions. Theories are based on empirical events. Theories are understandable statements. Remember that. Theories are understandable statements. Okay, so that's one of the three critical elements of a theory. Theory, number one, makes prediction. Theory is based on empirical events, and theories are understandable statements. Okay, then we have theoretical concept complexity. Okay, so you need to also look into the different, like in the work of Cantor, there were several constructions. Okay, and based on that one theory, okay, by Cantor, okay, three constructions were derived, as key elements, okay, of Cantor's theory. Then we also have theoretical grounding, appropriateness of the theory, importance of theory, and the general issue. Okay, so always remember that theoretical and conceptual frameworks are actually deduced, from the literature review. So if you will have it based on the UL format, the theoretical and the conceptual framework comes prior, but you see, it presupposes that you have done already, okay, an initial a comprehensive literature review, which later on you will have it organized and written, okay, as a chapter, okay, under chapter 2 of the UL prescribed format. So theoretical and conceptual frameworks, okay, are discussed separately from the theoretical framework. And as I always share, as I always describe it to my students, the theoretical and conceptual framework actually is a discussion that provides a sneak preview, okay, of your full-length discussion of literature review. So with that, I say thank you, everyone, and that ends the session on literature review.